Jet fans, what's going on? Yes, I rocked the President Mall jersey to school today. Man, I am fired up because we are not the New York Giants. Let's take a look at the New York Giants. They passed up on Sam Darnold, a surefire franchise quarterback, the best quarterback in last year's draft, I still think at least, over Mayfield. They passed up on him to take a running back. And then this year, they reach for Daniel Jones, who I had as my fourth best quarterback in this draft class. They reach for him with the sixth pick when they probably could have had him at 17. And I'm just sitting here like, thank God that is not the New York Jets. Thank God we have Mike Maccagnan, a competent general manager, who at the very least, we can argue all day about the mid-round picks, his percentage of hits versus, the number of starters he's found there, the number of guys that are off the roster. We could argue all day about the mid-round picks. We all know they need to be better, but it's definitely not as bad as most people make it out to be. But I continue to love what he's doing in the first round. Quinnen Williams, he's stuck with his philosophy, best player available on the board. Got a guy that's going to bring interior pressure, take on double teams, free up Leonard Williams. I mean, listen, you might have gotten a better pure pass rusher with Ed Oliver. You might have wanted some more speed coming off the edge, but I think it's clear that the way that Greg Williams and Mike Maccagnan want to build this defense together, it's with interior pressure. That's the way they want to do it. All right, that's the quickest way to get to Brady. You look at some of the Giants teams and the Ravens teams of the past that, Maccagnan talked about in his press conference last night, how those teams were built. You can win with interior pressure. Do I still think they need an edge guy with a little bit of speed? Absolutely. We'll see what happens with Darren Lee tonight. I personally would really like to keep him. I think that he could be a versatile piece for Greg Williams' defense, but at the same time, if he and let's say, your late third round pick, if you could package that and get into the second round, I almost feel like you have to do it because there are some really good names right now that are still on the board. A couple of centers out there, McCoy, Jenkins, Connor McGovern. I don't think he would be worthy of going second round, but if we are looking for a center, there are some guys, there are some tackles out there, still some edge guys that have fallen. You have Jawan Taylor at tackle, plenty of receivers. A.J. Brown, I think, could be a number one. So it's really just a matter of, what you want. I think they should be targeting offense right now, build some more pieces around Sam Darnold, assure his success, assure that Gase has everything that he needs to make this thing work. But we're going to see how they're going to do it. I think they're going to stick with best player available, which could also mean cornerback as well. Whether it's Greedy Williams trying to trade up for him or just sitting back, maybe a guy like David Long from Michigan falls to you in the third round, who's just a really solid man corner if they want to go that route. There's a lot of different ways and options that they could go, but for me, the priority should be Sam Darnold. My first priority on draft night was that they would trade him. I was very hopeful, not obviously Sam Darnold, the number 3 pick. I was very hopeful that they would find a partner to trade back and, find themselves somewhere, late top 10 or early teens, somewhere in that range, where they could have gone with a tackle or a center like Bradbury or somebody like that. But again, it didn't seem like they were trade partners. They tried like hell to move down, it seemed like, and there just wasn't the right move. So what do you do in that situation? You take the best player available. I'm not going to complain about it, but I will say that there's definitely some pressure on Quinnen Williams to not just be a good player, to not just be, an elite player. He's got to be like a freaking Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? If you're taking a D lineman when you already got, Leo, and you just signed Henry Anderson, and you need an edge, and you need some O-line help, I have no issue with the pick, but it better work out. You're going to go D-line when you have some other needs. It better be a beast. And I do think Quinnen Williams is going to be a beast. Everything about his college tape, when you watch it, it jumps out at you. The guy can handle double teams. He's going to free up Leonard Williams. He can get penetration. He can move him around the defensive line. So I think this is going to be a nice piece for Greg Williams to have. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what they do from here because there's obviously still plenty of work to be done. But this was a very, very good start. I love listening to him talk. He's a humble kid. He works his ass off. He's proud to be a Jet. So again, this offseason was about getting more dogs. We got him. We got C.J. Mosley. We have hopefully Marcus May coming back healthy to pair with Jamal Adams on the back end. Obviously, Osemele, Crowder, Le'Veon Bell. So we're definitely adding some dogs. We're definitely piecing this thing together. I still think we're probably a 9 to 10 win team this year, and then next year is where you're talking Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl aspirations, assuming Sam Darnold takes that next step this year, and Adam Gase is the coach that we all thought he could be. If those things happen, you're going into next offseason as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And at that point, if you want to go all in and address your edge, do it, right? You want to go all in and find your future tackle if we haven't yet, do it, right? Because there's a big difference when you're kind of rebuilding, or you're still in that in-between phase where you don't really want to part with picks because you still might need them. Well, we're starting to enter that phase where it's like, hey, if you got to trade a future second to get a legitimate pass rusher, why the hell not? And you put an edge guy on the outside with Quinnen and Leo in the middle, that's going to be friggin' scary. That would be scary. Now, the big question obviously turns to Leonard Williams and whether or not he's going to be a Jet beyond this year. I personally do not think they drafted Quinnen Williams just to replace Leo. I think it gives them some flexibility if Leo doesn't meet his potential this year. But looking at his first 4 years, Leo has been a very, very good defensive lineman. He might not have, lived up to those expectations yet of being the 6th overall pick, but he's 24 years old right now. He's going to be 25 when the season starts. I'm not giving up on him yet. He has been double teamed quite a bit. I know some people use that as an excuse for him not putting up, bigger numbers. I'm not really going to use that as an excuse, but I will say that he does need more help around him. He does need more talent around him. A lot of us thought that would come in the presence of an edge rusher, but a guy like Quinnen Williams playing right next to him on the defensive line, good luck trying to double team both those guys, because you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. And if you try to, you're talking about Jordan Jenkins on the edge being freed. He had 7 sacks last year, or whether it's Brandon Copeland, who had a pretty productive year, I thought, as a Jet last year. There's a lot of different options. I know we all want the edge guy. I think that's going to come in time, but there's definitely going to be some interior pressure. Greg Williams is going to be amping up the blitzes, so I'm not too worried about the defense anymore. We could use another corner, but I'm not too worried about the defense. From here on out, I really want to surround Sam Darnold with talent. I don't care how they do it, but I think center is probably the priority at the top of round 3, and then I would really look at those wide receivers. I'd really, really look at those wide receivers. I don't know who's going to drop yet, but there's definitely a group of about 11, 12 guys right now that I think all have starting potential, whether it's in the slot, seeing significant reps there, or on the outside as a 1 or 2. I think this draft class is friggin' loaded at the wide receiver position, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens in round 2, because certain guys, like an A.J. Brown, if he starts really slipping towards the back end of round 2, I'm doing what I got to do to move up and get him. He is a guy that I look at as a legitimate number 1, a ridiculous route runner, a ridiculous athlete. I'm shocked that he's still on the board right now. Same thing with DK Metcalf, except obviously he's got a little bit more to prove on the field. I think A.J. Brown is just a complete wide receiver, most polished in this class. DK Metcalf, he's got all the measurables, the size and speed, but he's got some work to do as far as his route running and things like that. So it's going to be interesting. Whatever route they decide to go, I'm excited for it, because they're going to add some players, I think. McCagnon, yes, he does have to improve his mid-rounds. I think he knows that. I think he knows this is also a win-now team, and so it's not about drafting guys that, maybe a couple years from now are starting to contribute. You still need guys that can contribute right now. All right, when you're talking about round 3 picks, these should be guys that should see the field this year. Nathan Shepard last year, that was a little bit of a disappointment. I'm not going to write him off as a complete bust yet, but as a D2 player, you take him in round 3, and now you've obviously, you paid Henry Anderson and Quinnen Williams, so you're talking about him at the very best probably being a rotational backup defensive lineman. But he does have plenty of potential. I remember watching him in training camp last year. Guy's strong as a friggin' ox. He can, he's getting plenty of penetration, pushing offensive linemen back. As the game started going on, it seemed like teams were able to adjust to him a little bit, and he wasn't getting as many reps on the field. But that's what's going to happen with rookies. So, especially with Todd Bowles as well, all the guys that we've had under him that just haven't seen the field a whole lot. I've talked about it ad nauseum, all the 6th-round picks over the last couple of years, like Derrick Jones and Eli McGuire, who could have used a whole lot more reps and who earned them, but just didn't get them for whatever reason under Bowles. So it's going to be interesting how Gase, manages this roster. And one more thing before I sign off, I friggin' loved the news that broke like 2 hours ago or whatever it was, that these inside sources are saying that there's tension already between Mike Maccagnan and Adam Gase, and that the Jets are gonna consider making front office changes. Like, listen, would it surprise me if the Jets moved a couple scouting department guys here and there? No, because these have been the same guys that have been here since 2015. If there's certain guys over these 4 years that they've evaluated or looked at their evaluations and said, this guy's not really, cutting it for us, then you move on. It's as simple as that. You had ample time to evaluate a bunch of these guys, so if they want to make some moves, go right ahead. But if you guys think that Mike Maccagnan's going anywhere, why? We're going to fire him after the draft? After the offseason? What are we, the New York Knicks? No, we're not doing that. There's no chance that's happening. There's a reason you let him draft, and there's a reason that you let him spend $100 million this offseason. There's a reason that they did that. Not to mention the fact that he just got your franchise quarterback the year before, and Jamal Adams the year before that. So again, all the Maccagnan stuff, I joke around with it a little bit, but I'm also serious with it because I don't understand why every day people seem to want to wake up and find a way to come after this guy when he's putting together a solid plan. If you can't see it, I'm sorry, but I love the direction of this team and how they're going right now. Yes, there's work to be done. Yes, there's picks to be made. They got work to do. Adam Gase still has to prove himself. Darnold still has to show he can take that leap. But I love the pieces that are in play. I think this is going to be a good group that's going to gel together, become a family, and hopefully lead us to plenty of Super Bowls. I'm excited, and I'm even more excited that we're not the New York Giants. So go Jets. Good luck tonight. Hopefully we kill it round 2, round 3, and we'll see what happens. Go Jets.